All right, welcome back to Inside the 90, and we're sitting in very specific seats today.
You're on the couch. I am in the chair.
Exactly right. This is the sales couch.
This is the marketing chair.
And that's the marketing chair. So today, this is a fun one. You're a marketer. You've also led sales. I'm a sales guy, and I've also led marketing, but from a sales perspective. And so this is very relevant in client relationships from both of our perspectives, that this sales and marketing alignment isn't always the easiest thing. So that's what I want to just kind of open up and let's talk about today.
Yeah, and you said like right 30 seconds ago, like, all right, what do we want to talk through? And I was like, man, just start the conversation because this is you being you and me being me.
Yes.
So we're just going to be raw. And it's something that we find ourselves, we share clients, we share conversations, like we've been through the different phases of businesses and really understanding like when sales and marketing are aligned, it's incredible.
Absolutely.
It's also very rare.
It's very rare. 100%.
So what I guess kicking it off with you first in the sales seat, you know, what do you think sales needs for marketing?
So when I just like that broad perspective, sales, right? If I think about, let's define sales, right? Sales is actually securing work. So securing a client, whether it's securing a job to produce a widget, securing a client to provide some service to, but that's what sales is. What marketing should be doing is propping up sales. So it should be making it easier for us to close.
Yeah.
So whether that's with supporting sales, so whether that's with materials, collateral, messaging, branding, leads, from that perspective. So it's kind of that's my definition of like what sales needs from marketing.
Yeah, and I've said marketing is anything that supports a sale.
Yes.
Right. So there's the chicken or the egg, the yin and the yang, right, of the relationship.
Right.
And you know, I'm as the marketing guy, and I work with clients. You know, there are times when I would say we struggle, you know, and because as an agency working with a marketing client, we need to have the conversations with sales.
Yes.
Right. And I think that's one of the things that we are always encouraging is, well, let's get sales into the conversation, right? To make sure that what we're doing is serving sales. So where do you start with aligning sales and marketing for that?
Absolutely. And I think it depends on where the organization is in their journey. Because if it's before really defined product market fit, it's different, right? Yeah. Like it needs to be, traditionally, I would say it's mainly always sales led. Well, maybe we can open that up a little bit, but it's extremely sales led before product market fit.
Yeah.
So in the product market, say let's take that example. Let's go from we have an organization, we're going, but we're still trying to find exactly who's our ICP. We don't really know exactly what the service offering. Let's do services, right? Yeah. We have the basis of the service, but the way the packages are, we may not fully define on what that is. Where I think people get things wrong is they go, I need leads, so let's turn on the marketing spigot to go get those leads and get that information. So then I have people to talk to and see if we can close some of these deals.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to, we should go out there in sales and just start talking to people. Yeah. And define that product market fit first before we turn on the marketing spigot.
Yeah. Like, so a friend of ours, Scott Millwood, has these 5 stages of businesses. So he calls it seeker, starter, builder, grower, and giver. And I like that language. You know, it's different, you know, there's lots of different language for that same thing, but you know, you've got your seeker. And a lot of times those are people who have entrepreneurial desires, right? Yes. But they haven't sold the first thing, right? You got to sell the first thing. And it's like, all right, now I've started. Yep. And the saying of nothing happens till somebody sells something, right? That is that early stage is a marketing exercise, whether it's an entrepreneur or a founder going to sell something, but just understanding the value. I see a void in the market, see a problem to solve. I think I have a solution. I call it skin in your knees. It's like, all right, go have some conversations. That initial conversation of, you've got this problem, this out, that's a marketing conversation, right? It's language.
Yeah.
So I think very early on, before there's things involved, right? I say we got to wrap the things in the thinkings. But the thinking of how am I going to say this? What am I going to do? Who do I get in front of? That's a marketing exercise.
Absolutely.
But also it's supporting someone who already has the sales mentality of I've got to go get in front of these people, right?
Yes.
So it's not the getting ready to get ready. I can't get in front of anyone until I have my story straight. It's an iterative. If you're seeker going to starter, it's like, all right, I got to get out there and talk about this, see where this is going to evolve. And then, starter going to builder is a pretty significant transition, right? That's probably that product market fit step.
Absolutely. And then you go, and then after the builder, what was the one after the builder? Scaler. So once you get into a scaler phase, that's when it's like really turning on the spigots
that's
as much
your
as we can.
Series A. That's when it's like, hey, we've got product market fit in the builder phase.
Yeah.
Now we really want to blow this thing out.
100%.
Yeah.
And so when I think about from my perspective, from a sales and a marketing, one is from a technology agency in Barracks, and one is from a software SaaS company. Two very different scales of organizations. And one was at that phase where we had product market fit, we're scaling, we're building it, but we didn't quite fully get to like the Series A on that side. The other one we did, and it was a software company, and that sales and marketing relationship looked very different. And so early on, it's sales and marketing are one, and it's very easy to be one, which it should be.
Yeah.
Because early on, your marketing is like providing messaging, which sales and the messaging is just going back and forth consistently. It's probably one person kind of leading that whole charge. It's doing events and speaking engagements. So it's very sales-led marketing events.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then as you mature and you actually start defining the two functions of marketing and sales are two different functions, that's when the misalignment occurs. And that's when we can spend a lot of extra money and a lot of energy that isn't really aligned.
Yeah. I think there's 4 levels on the client side. Now we think about what a good client is. There's all right, this is our product. This is the market we want to serve. The lowest level of client is what I call experimental, right? It's like, as a professional services guy, it's like, all right, I'm going to throw a shingle out there. And if someone says, can I do that? I'm going to say, yeah. Right? It's like, all right, that's the way a lot of professional services firms, I can do that for you. I can do that for you.
Absolutely.
But everything is, whether the client knows it or not, it's a little bit experimental on your end. You don't really have a package process for it. Right. And it's like, all right, cool. We're going to live in this experimental phase. That is when it's really challenging to commit to a lot of marketing context, because there's another thing called the authority of the recent, which is when you're in that phase, you're going to sell the next sell based off how the last sell went. So whatever happened last time, you're like, just replicate that. And it's like, well, that's the sales process. It's not about your product or market, fit. And then as you get more strategic looking forward, and you're like, all right, well, we don't want to be experimental. There's this transactional level, which is like, all right, we're a vendor. We do this, but we're not super strategic. It's kind of project based. And then that next level is systematic, right? And that's where you've got product market fit and you have systems and a story to tell.
Yes.
And as an agency on the marketing side, that's the best place for an agency and a marketing client to align, because the cake is baked. We know what story it is that we're trying to tell, but you've got a lot of iteration that can frustrate sales, marketing, and an agency in the experimental phase, because by the time you finish one campaign or one thing, now there's a whole new.
So in that, where do you see the tipping point where sales and marketing begin to be misaligned?
I think, so I think early there's the opportunity to be misaligned because sales is saying, hey, this is what we want to do. And, marketing is saying, all right, cool, we're going to come along and support you. And before you actually get that, marketing takes time to work, right? So you get into market and you start doing that messaging. You're trying to get the right message in the right market. And then sales has gone another direction, right? So I think when sales and marketing are aligned on a 3-year picture as an example. It's like if we jump forward 3 years and as an organization, sales and marketing, this is what good looks like. You're talking about what our service level expectations are. You're putting language around what's a lead, right? What's an MQL? What's an SQL? Like if you jump forward and you start defining 3 years from now, we're going to be a very well-oiled machine, regardless of where we are in our scale or in our growth cycle. Then you can back up and you can go, all right, cool. Well, then a year from now, this is where our goals are from a sales perspective.
Yes.
We want to be we need to get X amount of revenue from this vertical, and we want to have successfully sold 3 clients in this new vertical. If you jump forward a year and you've got that clarity and then you back up, then everyone's a little bit less reactionary, right? It's like, hey, a new vertical pops up and it's like, we're going to swing. It's like, well, that's not aligned with where we want to be at a year from now. So I think that. And
I think from the sales seat, sometimes that gets almost frustrating because it's like, no, you keep going. We're just testing this vertical.
Yes.
But from the marketing side, I'm sure that feels like it's whiplash or we're creating too many confusions.
Well, that's because marketing's functioning up here at the systematic approach. It's like, hey, we've got this down, but then you drop down with this experimental thing of like, hey, let's go try something new, but yet we have the same expectations on both. So I think the more, that experimental to transactional to systematic, and then where you end up above that is VIP, which is when everyone's really aligned and you understand when we're doing systematic versus experimental. Right?
Yes.
From a client perspective. And it's like, all right, we've got really high trust with this client. We can be honest with them and say like, you need that done. We can do it. We can't demonstrate that we have, but hey, let's give that a try. And you're not risking that relationship.
Yeah. So there's a component here that if marketing is, so you're saying, if I'm thinking about, we sit down, I'm in the sales seat, you're in the marketing seat, and we say, this is where we want to be in 3 years. This is what our year goals are, right? Here's what our messaging, like, let's get that alignment going. And then you start the marketing engine. Like you said, it takes some time and we have to build this and we get that ball rolling. What's wrong with me sitting in the sales seat, going and doing other things and still waiting for that to catch up and then work those leads coming?
No, I'm all for that. I mean, that's what I use the phrase skin in your knees, right?
Yes.
And I think it's really easy at certain smaller scale, like your seeker starter kind of level, to be like, all right, well, I can't go do this until I have these things. And I'm the exact opposite. I'm with you, which is like, we got those things moving over there. I'm going to go skin my knees.
Exactly.
We're going to experiment. Right. We're going to try to get some messaging. We're going to see how the market responds to this stuff. Can you help us just get the language right or make sure that's under the brand? Like, we do have a brand. We can experiment some, but make sure it's on brand, but know that this is experimental, right? I think as long as that alignment is there.
Yes.
And otherwise, it just, for marketing dollars to work effectively, you've got to understand what's the buyer's journey. Yes. How long does that take? If we spend $1 today, we're not getting $1 back tomorrow, right? And so just having that alignment on really a longer term objective,
which is really interesting, because as we're sitting here talking, I keep going to this simplicity of the marketing strategy in EOS and on the VTO, and truly, a lot of times we'll use that tool, we'll fill it out, but then it's kind of like, okay, there's the marketing strategy go. Yeah. But the value there is exactly what we're talking about. It's aligning not only marketing and sales, but also operations.
Correct.
Because what we're saying in that one little box is who's our target market. So what's our ICP? It's demographic, geographic, psychographic. I'm sitting here with a marketer, firmographic, right? So you have like all these specifics of like who your target market is. Then the 3 uniques, which are like by doing business with us, what are the 3 things you're going to experience? So you're going to get out of the relationship, or 3 things that set us apart. Correct. If it's a defined industry. And then this is the golden goose in this thing is the proven process.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if I'm sales and I just go out and I say those three things in every sales interaction or it in some way, shape, or form, then you help craft those from a marketing perspective, and operations knows that here's my proven process. This is how we're going to do business. That ultimately is the alignment tool.
Yeah, and that pyramid of experimental, transactional, systematic, and VIP, a proven process is a systematic sale.
100%.
Right? So when marketing and sales are aligned at that level, then it's less reactionary. It's more proven. We do have product market fit. We know what story to tell. And I think that's the desired outcome. But for some organizations, we're not going to be there for 3 years.
Yes.
So it's like part of our 3-year picture is that we have 3 years from now, we have a very well-oiled sales and marketing machine, and we have a proven process that's leading everything. It's leading our prospects through the journey, and then we sell and we deliver, and we're actually giving them the promise. We're delivering on the promises that we make. And I think that takes time. But early stage, it's okay to say like we're going to go experiment with some stuff. But I do.
But even in that, in sales, I want to experiment with using that as a lens. Like almost say, okay, well, what if our process was different? What was our proven process was different? What if the offering's different? Like I'm still going to use that as a lens to experiment. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I think if you just go out and say, well, let me just try something, you don't it's hard to bring it back.
Correct. Let me give you some context. So, provide a little bit of context too. I'm not for just experiment all the time. The exact opposite with the EOS is like, we want to have a vision.
Yes.
And we want to have a plan. But experimentation to me can be that, hey, we've got a plan. Sales can get moving without being polished, without having a website, 100%. Without having all the stuff. And that experimenting can be like,
and the experiment may be in the demographic where you say we only work with B2B tech brands.
Yes.
But then I'm going to try to do all this with a B2B services brand.
Yeah.
That's the experimental, but we're knowing where we're experimenting in that component.
Yeah. And then just having, I think when I get the ROI question, I'm like,
ROI in marketing.
If I could predict ROI, I would be a retired stockbroker. I would not be a marketing guy, right?
Right.
So, and the line of, half the marketing budget is wasted. We just don't know which half, right? So, when it's
I haven't heard that one.
Oh, you've never heard that?
That's funny.
That's like the founder of the retail store. I forget his name. Somewhere in the Northeast back in like 1880.
Okay,
that was his line way back then. But not. There's six.
Well, there is an ROI in marketing.
Oh, there is. Yeah, absolutely.
It's sales.
Correct, but in a period of time, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I think that so I break it into 6 steps or 6 key components. You've got brand, marketing, lead generation, business development, sales, and closing. And it's a little bit of a you can look at it linear or you can look at it in a circle. But what I find usually is when we're brought in as an agency to partner with someone, usually they're like, hey, I need more sales. Like we're closing deals. I need more sales. Help me generate some leads.
Yes.
And everybody wants the Glengarry leads.
Not the Glen Ross. Yeah.
Yes. And we call ourselves a marketing media agency because we don't lead with brand. Because if we said we're a brand agency, a lot of people get turned off with that. Like, we don't need a brand. We need marketing. Mm-hmm. And then we get in the process, and what do they say? Well, our messaging isn't aligned. Our internal team doesn't align with what our external prospects see. Like their internal beliefs don't align with their external beliefs. And we end up, and we're like 30 days in, we're like, you're telling us you have a brand problem, right? And they're like, yeah, we have a brand problem. Mm-hmm. But brand is first. We have to know, who we are as an organization, and products and services can evolve. But we have to know who we are today from a brand perspective and who we want to be 10 years from now. And then you get the brand right, what makes us different. The VTO is a brand exercise.
Absolutely.
And then the products and services, we may want to experiment this quarter with a new service.
Yeah.
But that's underneath that brand, right? Mm-hmm. So brand, and then brand is the interaction. That's like, what do we want customers, prospects, teams, everything to feel? What do we want them to believe about us? And then marketing is a plan. Marketing is an activity. It's like, all right, we've got dollars and we got limited resources of dollars and time and people.
Right.
What levers do we put in place where so that we can try to generate some leads? And then when those leads get generated, this is the really important conversation, because if I sat down with a sales team and I said, I'm going to bring you 10 leads tomorrow, how many are you going to close? And they're like, you bring me 10 tomorrow, if I can close 3 of those, it'd be great. I was like, all right, how many are you willing to vet through? It'd be like, well, if I can go from 10, you bring, 6 of them are good and I close 3, like that's a 30% close rate. I'd take that all day long.
Absolutely.
But then what happens? In the order, you send them the first 6 that aren't good, and they're like, these leads suck.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Absolutely.
well, there's still maybe 3 to close in the remaining leads, right? So I think that the expectations of how are we going to bring leads, how they're going to get qualified.
Do you feel that sometimes putting the value of marketing on the number of leads is the inaccurate way of looking at marketing? Or
Absolutely.
do you think it is the the right way? It's because in talking with you, like even just experience, is that marketing is much more than just the leads coming in,
Absolutely.
right? It's the awareness, it's the connection, it's all these other aspects of that. It's helping sales in their environments of collaterals and all of these things. I think that's why it's so hard to put an ROI on marketing. That's the only way you can do it is sales. It's not leads. It's sales.
Well, but I think, so going back to the 6, and I'm, in my head, I'm drawing this in a circle, but you got brand,
right?
Marketing, and lead generation. Marketing is not lead generation.
Correct.
Marketing is a prerequisite to lead generation.
Yes. Okay.
And marketing, what about customer retention? Right? Marketing plays a role in
Absolutely.
that. That's not a net lead. What about employee engagement? Marketing plays a role in that, corporate communications, right? So marketing is definitely more than generating leads. Marketing should be supporting all revenue, right? But leads are a component of, we all need new opportunities and new deals in order to grow. No one wants to stagnate. But you got to get brand, you got to get the marketing engine set up, and then you've got a lead generation effort.
Yes.
Or
events.
Yeah, or events.
Usually events, campaigns.
Correct. There's
channels.
Lots of things.
All of those are lead generation, but the marketing is different. And there's a component of this that we haven't even really brought in, but it's a component of product development if we have a product.
Yep.
It's the operations if we have operations. It's the services if we have services that actually play that third leg of the stool of sales marketing, and that, like, what that are we hitting that piece of it, which is interesting. And do you believe that having a leader in marketing and having a leader in sales causes sometimes the misalignment in sales and marketing? Do you think there should be one person over sales and marketing? Collectively.
So I don't think there's a right answer to that. I think it depends on the organization and the individuals. I'm a marketing guy who has always led sales for an agency.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been responsible for selling the strategies of which we deliver to clients, right? So I've been both. So when I was running marketing for an organization, and it was fairly natural for me to step in and run sales and marketing together. I do think there's got to be empathy for both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, marketing gets a budget and sales gets a quota. Right? Two totally different things.
Absolutely.
So being able to, I have got to go out and I have to sell some stuff is a totally different, you got variable pay and compensation and all that stuff that comes into play. So that takes the right type of person. The general, broad stroking it is marketing wants to work too slow and be too strategic, and sales wants to whiplash, and they're going to sell tomorrow's deal based on how we closed one yesterday.
Yes.
And neither one of those are right? Marketing has to move fast and be nimble, but at the same time, strategically, I think marketing is the one that keeps sales aligned under brand. Right? I think marketing is the one who has to equip sales to say, as an organization, we've defined, we know what makes us different. We know what makes our products good. We understand the problem solution or the pain points, and marketing has that language. I mean, we're more naturally eloquent storytellers, and being able to understand the brand and give the brand language that then supports the sales efforts. I think that creates a lot of when you have a marketing seat that's really supporting a sales seat and both understand the role of brand. I think that works really well.
Absolutely. So I think the breakdown is when, from the sales perspective, I'm going to take a sales angle on it, right? Because the thing I love about sales is there is a quota. The thing I love about sales is there's a scorecard and a scoreboard at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Did we win or did we lose? And it's black and white.
Yeah.
So because of that, it cuts through a lot of noise. And marketing supports that sales effort. However, when marketing is trying to tell sales win or win not, yes or no, those types of things, like they almost feel like they know better.
Correct.
That's when there's a big issue in the relationship.
Yeah, definitely.
But it like you understand why marketing's doing that.
Correct.
Because they're like, but we have this whole campaign and we have this strategic thought and we have these we built out these case studies and we've done all this work, right? The sales is like, yeah, that's great, but we've now moved on from that and we need to do this. And how do we align that? That's, I think, where that missed, we need to figure that out.
Yeah, so I think the most common, I think I can say this across all organizations, large or small, when you have an internal marketing person or team and you have a sales team.
Yeah.
What I find is the greatest struggle is when there's no currency of exchange. So when marketing has a 3-person team, and we're trying to get stuff done, but you have 6 salespeople or 9 salespeople, then marketing's here to support sales, where every salesperson has different needs, right? And when there's no currency, that's where I think you get very transactional, and it's like, what's the most urgent thing? We were on this big thing, but there's a pitch tomorrow, and we got to get a sales deck together for this sales rep. And when sales is always saying, I can't do something until I need marketing, until marketing helps me, and there's no currency to balance that out, I feel like that's the most dangerous situation.
Yes.
Because sales is never happy.
And what happens though, because a lot of sales teams are saying, I don't need marketing during that time. Yeah. I'm just going to go create my own deck and go do it.
Exactly.
But then they get their hand slapped.
Correct. Yes.
By marketing.
Yes.
That says, go through this process. Yeah. Right. So those are the realities, I think, of when of what that feels like.
Yeah. So I think there again, I think jumping forward, right? Yes. When you, as a marketing leader, I always want to be ahead of my sales team, but yet aligned with my sales leader.
Yes.
So when sales comes and says, hey, I need this, I want to put it in the context of hey, I can give you that, but you should know this is where we're heading.
Right.
Because this is heading towards, the direction that we're all aligned on. But so you're just always trying to stay ahead of them and tell them where you're going. I have found the more you can have a plan, cast a vision, and show sales the things that you're doing that's going to be ready for them in the future, the less reactionary that becomes in the short term.
Yeah. And this is where I asked you this question, if it really needs to be one leader. I have a strong belief that it's one function. Marketing and sales is one function. And the separation of the functions is a root cause potentially of misalignment. Because they're serving different perspectives in that way. My perspective is that sales has functions. There's a business development function of churning those things up. There's a technical sales element of the assessing and the solution building,
analysis,
and very technical aspect of the selling, right? But there's also process control and collateral control and messaging. That's a strong sales function, which typically sits in the marketing seat, right?
Yep.
And sits over here, but it's very important through this process. It's Right. And so when we separate the two, it causes some of that. Well, that's over here and this is over here, which I understand it's a process issue. It's not a seat issue. I think we know that, but it innately creates more things to overcome because of that.
Yeah. I'm trying, going back when I was in the, going from marketing, running marketing and sales. I mean, my, communications, sales emails, presentations, like that's all in my zone.
Right.
And this was before EOS, but really almost taking a proven process approach to how we tell our story and letting sales understand like, hey, this is why we're putting them in this order. This is the way the deck rolls out, understanding that we, just some general coaching stuff. Like we don't want to start with, this is about us.
Yeah.
Right. It's like we're the, we're the guide. They're the hero. So getting even the narrative in a way that's like, we're talking about pain points before we're talking about ourselves.
Yes.
Like I have found that when you do that and you start equipping salespeople with stuff that's better and different than they would do with their own, you actually build more trust. Yes. And they start going like, oh, this actually works. I'm seeing now how to tell this story. And you've given me the rails to stay in, but also the freedom to tell my story, however works with my selling style, whatever that is, But I do think that the proven process 100%. Is a really good alignment tool. It is
the ultimate alignment tool, I think. It's like everything goes there, even operations. It's the number one misunderstood tool in the US toolbox.
Yes.
And I think even the way that Gino wrote it in Traction and built it, he didn't even understand the power of what it did.
Yeah.
Because it's written as a way of like, this is a great way to, one, put yourself above your competitions because they don't do it.
Yeah.
And give yourself some credibility. Oh, and it's some alignment that occurs internally, but that alignment it's huge.
Yeah.
It's the number one value of that tool personally.
Yeah. So on proven process, that moves you up to that systematic sale. And that takes time to go from experimental to transactional to systematic. And that brick by brick idea is what we find ourselves working with clients that are in that grower to scaler phase, is there's not a foundation for any form of tracking, right? So my clients come to me and they're like, hey, how are you going to track the ROI of this?
Right.
And my question is, well, how do you track it today? And what's the answer?
We don't.
I mean, so, all right. So like, we got to brick by brick build that process, right? So we've got to
which is the tech stack.
It's the tech stack, right? Yeah. It's like, all right, what is the language? When do we generate a lead? Like, how do we tag it? What's it going into CRM? And are we using, the tech stack gets complicated. I mean, we have clients who have
100%
who have let's say that they're Microsoft CRM and they've got the BD outreach, platform, but then we've got to send marketing automation, right? It's like, all right, so we got to stand up like HubSpot, and now you've got HubSpot and CRM and this, and then we use factors. We're an ABM shop, so we've got all this tech stack that has to be integrated, and my style is not plan the whole thing. Right. It's like, hey, let's get the awareness bucket moving. As some leads start to drop in, let's go find that lead and pull a thread and take it into the next system. And, really, you gotta pull that thread through the whole system. And it takes 18 months.
It does. And I'll tell you though, it takes 18 months just to build it, even if you're not going brick by brick.
Correct.
And then it takes you another 18 months to fix it. So the brick by brick methodology in that is genius, because you see it all the time where we go from, okay, what's after experimental in year 4? Experimental, transactional before systematic, right?
Yep.
So when you're going from that transactional to systematic, that's really where you're talking about making this transition.
Yes.
Transactional works, right?
Yep.
Like it works. We know, like we have the right salespeople, we have the right team, we're selling this thing, but we need to put gasoline on the fire.
Yes.
To go to that next level is a lot of work.
Yes.
Like people don't recognize how much work it actually takes. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
The wrong way to do it is take something, build it over here, and then plug it in.
Yeah.
Right? It's the brick by brick, like you said, like building that awareness. Let's get that thing going while we implement the next stage and the next tech and and just keep
and
moving forward.
in an EOS world, it's like, how are we going to measure the ROI? It's like, all right, well, what are our scorecards, right? And there's a few simple metrics for both sales and marketing. And the great thing about a scorecard is it tells you where you don't have the systems, but you don't say, well, we can't use that as a scorecard. We don't have the systems. It's like, no, that's our scorecard. Go build the system.
Exactly.
And
right.
so, but building,
it tells us what's important.
Exactly. So, but building that system, it just takes time. And I mean, even like for me, I have, before I joined a software company where I was leading marketing, where they had already bought Salesforce, I had been implementing CRMs for a decade.
Yeah.
Right. And so we get there, licenses and everything were in place. It took 18 months just to get the thread.
Yes.
And then by year 3, we were dialed in pretty tight. And I was on staff, a data junkie, pulling the threads through myself, tracking stuff. And then I had an awesome opportunity to hire Lauren Humphreys, who's an amazing just growth marketer who just, my joke was, I said, one day you're going to come in and you're going to tell me about the nightmare that you had with your spreadsheets. Because one of my favorite interview questions, especially for all this marketing tracking, is just to casually ask someone, it's coming out of college specifically, like, how do you feel about Microsoft Excel? Just deadpan face, and you'll get the, oh, I love it. And when I hear that, I'm like, all right, your brain will work in the growth marketing space to track all this
Absolutely.
stuff. But anyone who's like, oh, I had an Excel class and it's not for me. I'm like, all right, cool. You're not going to be good at tracking all this stuff. But that idea of you've got to be passionate, you have to know what you're looking for, and you got to be able to just, connect all the dots and pull the threads through one at a time.
100%. We did a large Salesforce implementation too. We used Torrent Consulting out of Ann Arbor, Michigan. Fantastic consulting firm for it. But it is amazing on how it really is, where you talk about pulling that thread all the way through and that allows that marketing and sales alignment, because when sales utilizing the tools and utilizing the tech stack, it's providing data back to marketing effectively.
Yeah.
But if we only allow that technology to be the alignment, we're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be those other aspects of the proven process and utilizing our tools to do that.
And a really important thing, when going back to leads, if I bring 10 leads to sales and they're like, hey, these first 7 sucked.
Yeah.
Why? Like, let's dig in, right? Because we're doing something. Like, we're catching fish. They're just not edible.
Right.
So let's talk about
what do we do?
What is it? Like, why did that one come through? Is there a keyword that is that's a negative keyword that we should say, if this is coming in on a search term or an ad, like, let's not attract that. That doesn't work for us.
Absolutely.
So all the conversations around what's working and what's not working, and when something's not working, let's dig in and talk about why.
Yeah.
And then having ways to track that.
Yes.
So you still want to track the outcomes of dead leads.
Yes.
But it is I think that brick by brick initiatives take 18 months. I've just seen in an enterprise. It's 6 months to figure out what to do, 6 months to do it, 6 months to see if it works. And I think that just the foundational tech stack takes about 18 months. And then it takes a whole nother 18 months to get mature to where it's really, it's a tight loop, closed circle of reporting.
Absolutely. And that initiative take 18 months it holds true. Even like think about implementing EOS. It takes 18 months to really start to see that flywheel into effect.
Yeah.
And just bringing up the idea of flywheel, actually, there's a component of the flywheel that we haven't even talked about, from a sales and marketing alignment, even into the operations alignment, because marketing even it should live in an operations component of account management and client satisfaction and understanding the solve and understand the problems that we solved and how our clients talk about it and pull that back as well.
Yeah. And I am actually a believer too that, so the biz dev, like that word has a lot of meaning, but biz dev is the filter, right? Biz dev is I am going through a lot of what I expect to be unqualified to find the qualified, to separate the wheat from the chaff. So like that marketing generates leads. I'm a big believer that those leads go to biz dev. You don't want your marketing leads going to your challenger salesperson, right? That's just not a right fit. So you have to have that person in the middle who's working them, because that lead, they're getting on the buyer cycle.
So is that biz dev person a salesperson or a marketing person?
So I think could be either. And the team that we built, biz dev, was a marketing function.
Yeah.
And campaign attribution and lead tracking was a marketing function.
Yes.
So when leads came in, if it got disqualified, still in the marketing
I'm 100%
side,
with you here.
and that data was all clean. I don't want salespeople worrying about the tracking of everything. I want them doing their job.
Completely agree.
And so the idea of a CRM being a sales first solution, right? It should be built for the salesperson, but all the tracking and attribution and stuff should have already happened before they got a marketing qualified lead.
Absolutely. Well, this is really good. We need to find something we disagree on, because I think we agreed on a lot of that alignment, which is probably a good thing, but there's definitely something we disagree on here.
But I think because we're both two halves to the whole,
I know. We've crossed both.
I will say, to plug ourselves, as an agency at Wonder, our guarantee is marketing momentum in the next 90 days. Which is, we're going to meet you where you are. We're going to hit the ground running, and we're going to start doing the work that you need with a mature marketing organization in 18 months.
Yes.
Like when we work with clients and we have the opportunity to come in, meet them where they are, get a really strong marketing strategy together. And then part of that strategy is the brick by brick. We're working through the MarTech, we're working through.
Which, when you're saying that, you're saying, how do we align sales with this?
Yes.
How do we get this when you're looking at a mature marketing agency?
Yeah, the first 90 days of our relationship with our clients, we are finishing 90 days with marketing and sales alignment.
Yes.
What the 3-year alignment for sales and marketing looks like, what the 1-year goals are. If they run on EOS, they may already have that, but we may be starting mid-year, right? So what does 1-year goals look like? And then how do we support the marketing team now to hit that?
Absolutely. So I think this would be fun to close some of these thoughts out with, what are things that are terrible ideas that are going to create a lot of wasted energy or money in marketing and sales? I have a couple too.
Yes.
So one is have a proven sales model. You get to a point where you have a proven sales model. We have a conversation and we're going to close it more times than not.
Yeah.
Right. And you think all we need to do is turn on a spigot to turn on leads. So you just go, how can I get leads? And your ROI, you're trying to track in 90 days only.
Yeah.
That is a recipe for disaster, because you're going to waste money absolutely crazy.
Absolutely.
Just every 90 days at a time, you're going to waste money.
So I think with that, the most common mistake I see is sales, and I'll say going to sales and asking them, they should be the ones who understand the buyer journey. And from the time that, if we're B2B tech as an example, and I've got a B2B prospect, right? They go through this season or a series of, I'm aware of my pain. I'm aware of the solution to my pain.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of the product that solves my pain.
Yes.
And I'm aware of the partner that I want to buy that product from.
Yeah.
So that is typically, and broad stroking it, a 9 to 18 month process. And you got to figure out at what point is our messaging aligning with where they are in that journey. Because if just take the average opportunity, right? If your average age of opportunity is 103 days, then that's 3 months.
Yeah.
So once you have them in conversation, it takes you 3 months to close the deal. Then how long, what's the expectation if we're spending marketing dollars in these 3 months? That ROI is not going to be for 12 months from now.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they have to be aware of their pain and start investigating a solution.
Absolutely.
To understand the product. And that just takes time. So I think the two biggest mistakes, not understanding the buyer journey and not giving marketing time to work.
Yes. And I got one more. Here's a mistake, is that you're growing and you need a sales leader. So what you do is you take your top salesperson, you promote them into the sales leader position. Okay. Then you're like, things are going well. We need to turn on the spigot. So then you hire marketing agency or an outside marketer to come in and sit in the marketing seat. That is what 95% of teams do.
Yep.
And it sets us up for failure.
Yeah.
And reason I say it that way is it takes you have to have a really, really strong sales leader to understand how all of this ties together. And if you just take your top sales rep and put them in that position, all they're going to do is teach the salespeople how to just close deals,
Correct.
but not know how to build a mature sales and marketing organization
Yep.
and align with marketing.
Yeah.
So it's just, you got to be aware of that.
Yeah.
That's a big concern.
I think my closing statement for all this is smart work takes time.
Yeah.
That's really it. And
unfortunately,
and
we'd love it all to be faster.
But it is. And it's like, and the longer you wait, the shorter the fuse gets, right? So it's like, just start now, have good expectations, align sales and marketing to common goals.
Yes.
Communicate regularly, and have empathy on both sides.
Yes. And I love it. And, I say it all the time, it's a process, not an event.
Yes.
Right. So this is an exact example of that. If you're going in saying this needs to do this, as you're growing this out, it's going to fail.
Yep.
But the way to work a process appropriately is be open and honest through it, and don't have some expectations that you don't talk about.
Yeah.
You don't put it out there, and just work through it as a team, work on alignment. And that's where you go.
Yeah. And going back to EOS, if you have 2 seats or 1 and they're at the leadership team and there's big challenges, there should be issues, right?
Oh,
we have the platform. Nothing should fester.
Absolutely.
We've got the process, trust the process, lean in, put your issues on the list, prioritize, knock them out, and it'll work.
Absolutely. Love it.
All right. Till next conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jamie.
Peace out.